Hello, everyone. Welcome to Alien's Joy today. I'm so glad to see you today on this episode of Alien's Joy. I have a wonderful guest. As usually, I'm always so excited to have amazing guests on. Hanna Kok is with me today, all the way from South Africa. So I'm super excited about that. I hope you're watching. And if you're not watching today live, then watch the replay or listen to the podcast. We are on several podcast stations, winwinwomen.tv. And of course, we are on our own platform here. We're on Roku, Apple TV, Amazon. So I hope you're watching somewhere. And of course, let us always know your comments, your questions. If you're coming on live, then after our interview, about 30, 40 minutes, we're going to invite you to join in the conversation with us. And we'll just have a little bit of a Q&A afterwards. I'm going to introduce my guest today. Hanna Kok is here with me today. I am super, super grateful that you took the time, because it's already late there, to be on the show. Hanna was born and educated as a chemistry and biology teacher in the Netherlands. So we have that in common. She moved to South Africa in 1984. She lived there for 12 years in a rural village, running a trading station with her husband. In 1993, Hanna qualified as a brain gym trainer, and a few years later, she qualified as an allergy practitioner. In 2014, she became a medical intuitive. We're going to talk about that, of course, today. Hanna's title, she calls herself the Happy Ever After Coach, specializes in working with people, unhappy people, unhealthy people, because we know already, and I talk about that so much, and my guests talk about that so much, that our unhappiness will lead to health problems, right? Our mind, body, the whole thing is connected. Hanna likes to deal with root components that play a role in causing your disease or your unhappiness. And when these root problems and issues are addressed, health and happiness will return by itself, or at least you respond better to other treatments. The amazing thing is, and we're going to talk about that because I got to ask you, you also have a self-help application, an app that is called Apphirmations. I am super excited to talk to you today, Hanna. Thank you for being on my show. Welcome from far away.
Thank you for having me. It's really wonderful to be here. I just love being able to talk to people, spread the word.
So fun. Thank you. Tell me about, my first question is always, who is Hanna? Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, you already told a bit about my life story. So those first 12 years were in a rural village in Lesotho. And to give you an idea of how rural it was, we did not have TV, we did not have electricity other than solar. So we were living off the grid. Our car park for the shop was filled with horses and donkeys. That was an occasional car would come in. That is how rural it was. And the people would come from over the mountain, would travel for hours to come to our shop, then would load their horse up with a big bag of mealie meal or maize meal, like an 80 kg bag. Sometimes they would carry a coffin on on their horse, go up the mountain, down the other side, and that's where they would then live. So that's how rural it was. It was like going 100 years back in time.
Why did you end up there in the middle of nowhere, and how interesting? What happened? You were just an adventurous girl and you were just like, I'm going to explore the world?
It was fate. I wanted to explore the world. So as you said in the introduction, I'm a trained teacher. And one day I was teaching in the Netherlands and I was looking at my school bag and I thought, this bag is gone from school to school to school. I just changed side of the desk. And so what do I know about life? It's time to find out more about life. And I was part of a rowing team, and they all had been traveling all over the world. And I thought, now it's my turn. My job was going to finish due to government cutbacks. And so I thought, okay, let me write people anywhere in the world to see if I can earn board and lodging, because I'm not really that adventurous that I would just go somewhere and not knowing where I'm going to sleep that night. I don't like that. And I ended up in a little place, in a little country called Lesotho. that's enclaved in South Africa. Never heard of the place. I had to look it up on the map, and of course I had to make sure it was not part of South Africa, because of that apartheid time. Well, by the time I arrived there, I realized things were way more complicated than it looked from the outside, but that's a different story.
Yeah.
But then I met my husband there, and what's supposed to be 6 months has been a very long 6 months.
Yes.
And then I
Love,
stayed there
love
for
made you
12.
stay. You found love. Yes.
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 And
Yeah.
and the funny thing was, I always had the feeling I was going to meet somebody. And in the first few weeks I was there, I met a lot of people, but I hadn't met him. I only had heard weird stories about this guy, and I thought, okay, well, it doesn't matter that I didn't know him. And then one day, so he was from Scottish descent. The family had been in the country for 100 years in
Wow.
1984. And then his mother said, why don't you bring Hannah home? And we started chatting, and we just clicked, and was like, it was you I had to travel half the world for.
Yes, 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 yes. It was not around the corner at home. Yeah, definitely not. And then
I had
what
to
happened
travel
to
far.
you too? So you created a life over there in the middle of nowhere. It's
Yes.
so interesting, Hannah. So what happened with both of you and moving forwards?
Well, as I said, we were running this trading station, but we were very innovative, and my husband was into computers already back then. And by the early 1990s, we were completely off grid. We had solar system. We looked after our own water. We had a computer system in the shop with scanners and printers
Oh, wow. Yeah.
in the middle of nowhere, and we wrote our own software. So that was amazing.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Yes. Yes.
But then, it was also a dangerous place to live. So it didn't end the way we had hoped. Um, there was one night it was very noisy, and I thought, oh, fireworks. And then I realized, no, they don't do fireworks in Lesotho. And I realized there was an armed robbery taking place.
Yes. Yeah.
And the thing was, by that time, we had a little boy, a 16-month-old baby. And my husband had we lived in two rondavels. And I don't know if you know what a rondavel is. It's like a little round hut. But we had made them more luxurious than the traditional huts, but that's what we chose to live in.
Sure.
And he'd been sleeping in the other hut. And so when the people were outside our house saying, we must open up, I wanted to go and open up, because let me just take a little step back, is that my husband was worried about one day that we would be a target. And he always said, well, as long as they don't know where you two are, I'll be okay. And I, in my mind, had thought, okay, if it happens, this is how I'm going to deal with it. So when that time came, I was going to get up and get the keys, and then my baby started crying. And of course, then I nursed him, because, I need to make sure that he was quiet.
Mother instinct right away. Yeah.
Mother instinct. I mean, he saved my life that day, definitely.
Wow.
And then I heard my husband open up, and I could hear how they were speaking to him and how he was speaking to them, that there was something wrong. So I stayed very quiet, because I knew that's what he wanted me to do. And then they took him away. And I prayed. I prayed and prayed, and I put him in the light, and I wasn't scared. And then all of a sudden it was taking too long, and I did get scared.
Yeah.
And I heard gunshots. And then I waited to see if he came, and he didn't. And so then I thought, okay, now it's safe. If there was anybody there, they would have left. And then I found him. They had shot him. But
And these were
what
criminals, bandits. They came from money. They were
well, I don't know, afterwards I've heard it could have been actually an arranged hit, because there were the other shopkeepers were jealous of what we had up. even though we had said, okay, we're not going to sell fresh produce to keep them, we're not selling alcohol to make sure that they have their own market. But apparently, we never know. They know who did it. They never were arrested. But I must say a few things about this all. Before it happened, we were stuck. And my husband was always saying, why are we making a living if we could be making a life? You know. And we wanted to change it. We wanted to open a retreat center where people could find themselves. And with the training that I'd done with the brain gym, I could like do coaching already back then in 1993.
You already had started your training and your knowledge about.
I'd completed the training.
Yeah.
But we were too scared opening it up. We just couldn't see ourselves doing it. And we couldn't see ourselves leaving this place. It being in the family for 100 years. By that time, it was like almost 110 years. So it was like we didn't know how to leave.
Yeah.
And then we also had been following some spiritual teachings. And I learned a lot about the importance of forgiveness before it happened. I had learned about, you know, when there's a loss, God will always send a comforter. So when it all happened, I was as if I was equipped for this, you know. And it was like, okay, now I am free to move because there's nothing holding me here. And now it's time for me to make a life for myself.
Yeah.
In honor of what what we had been wanting to do.
Gone through.
And that's why I'm doing the work that I'm doing now, because I'm basically following through what we wanted to do.
Thank you for sharing.
And it was easy for me to forgive them because I knew that if I didn't, it would kill my spirit if I would get stuck in grief and anger. And then I would never be a good mother to my son. He would have then lost two parents in one evening. So that's why I said, you know what, God will sort them out. It's not for me to sort that out. And I just blessed them as much as I could. Sounds really weird, but I vowed that I was going to make this the best for me. And it sounds weird, but because that way I was honoring him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then his life was not in vain. That's basically how I move forward from there.
It's such a story, Hannah. It makes me well up because I'm just thinking like in the middle of the rainbow and our Africa. It's hard. It's difficult.
I know.
It's so far away. And then being with your baby and, really, I mean, seeing everything that happens, having to pick your husband up who is shot. It's a very, very, very sad, at the same time, very powerful story, because what you did with it was your motivation, your inspiration to honor him and to move forward and to become an incredible, important healer for other people and coach for others. So
exactly.
unbelievable. So you had a baby, you moved away, you just picked up and moved at some point, and
well, what happened then was I had to go down and get help because the nearest town with the telephone was 30 kilometers away. So I got help. I phoned my parents, managed to phone my parents at night within 48 hours. And every time I cry when I say it. Within 48 hours, my parents and my two sisters were there. The comforters were there. And they supported me for a whole year. Partly there, partly in the Netherlands. I went back for a while. And I had the support. It was,
that is
it
amazing.
was just so protected. Everything was,
And
it's sad, but
they're far away. I mean, they came to be there with you, and family first. Yeah, just right there. Very, very nice. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing what they did, really. And as I said, and these are happy tears in the sense of like,
Mhm.
wow, that
Yeah.
people are there to support.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's unbelievable. When did you find the strength to say, okay, I can do this by myself and with my son, I'm gonna make it happen. I'm gonna be moving forwards. It's never gonna be okay in that sense, but I'm gonna go in a different direction. I'm gonna do it.
Yeah. Well, what happened was it was obvious I was not going to stay where we were because it was too dangerous anyway, and I had nothing holding me there.
Yeah.
And then I thought, okay, well, I must go back to the Netherlands. Nothing is holding me in South Africa. Why should I be here? And so then I went back. Now I'm one of 6 children. I'm number 5 out of 6. And so all my siblings were telling me how to live my life. Now, if you've lived for 12 years in the
Of
middle of
course.
nowhere, deciding for yourself what to do, and if you are eigenwijs, I can't even find, otherwise, I couldn't
Stubborn. Yeah.
stubborn,
Yeah.
stubborn, but yeah, in a way.
Yeah.
No, this is not going to work for me. And then I managed to get a residence permit for South Africa, which
Okay.
at first I wasn't able to get, but we managed to organize it. And I thought, and a friend of mine said, well, I would love to live with you. Let's move to Johannesburg. And we
Mhm.
found a place. I thought, I'm going back. I don't know why, but I'm going back. And then I moved to South Africa.
Yeah.
But that was about a year that I took
Sure.
time.
Yeah. Sure. Oh, of course. I mean, you needed to support. And, there's always something with family there, right? We talk about that a lot. We love them. They're there 100%, and they also tell you what to do. So that's not always, you know,
I mean, you know that you
you just
moved
gotta
far
go.
away from your
Yeah.
you moved far away from your family, right?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Very far away. It's just, it's for me, of course, it was a sense of adventure and also a gentleman, right? You just move for love, and you moved for yourself that second time. But I know how difficult it is sometimes to, yeah, to please everybody. And on the other hand, it's difficult to be far away. And to know that you have support back home it's always good. That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, and at that stage, I still had my mother-in-law and my sister-in-law here,
Hmm.
and I had lived with them for a while, and we are even to this day. Now, this is now happened in '96, so it's 28 years ago, so it's a long time ago.
Yeah, yeah,
But I still have a very close relationship with my sister-in-law. And so I had a nice support structure here in South Africa, although they were not as close where I was, but my
yeah.
sister-in-law later moved in with me. So that was really special.
Fabulous. Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And you create a new life and new work. So tell me a little bit about thelifeyouwant.com, which is your website, thelife-youwant.com. So what did you create for people? What do you love to do with people? And what is that why that I kind of like understand the why now, to honor both of yours dream in those days. And now it
Yeah,
really came
that's where it
to fruition.
started.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now it really came to fruition.
Right. So it started, like, as I said, we were trained. I was already trained as a brain gym practitioner and trainer. And I thought, okay, that's what I want to do. And it was a challenge because I moved to Johannesburg. I knew one person who lived a completely different life than I did with a young child, and nobody had heard of brain gym. So I don't know how I survived. That was a miracle on its
Yeah.
own. But I started with a bit of coaching to, see who wanted that. I would go to car dealers, say, hey, do you have salespeople that don't know how to, that maybe not performing? Do you want me
Yeah.
to work with them? And so I got some clients here and there. And I was also doing some of the courses that I was teaching some of the courses as well.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate that I had inherited a little bit of money, so I could buy a house. So I did not have to, my overheads were quite small.
Yeah.
And And then about 5 years later, I remarried. So by that time, I'd been training people. I had managed to build up a
Started your
life for
business.
myself.
Yeah.
I married a widower with 2 children. So we have now together the 3 boys. But they had lost their mother, and I had to support them through their grieving process because they hadn't really gone through that themselves. So that in my work, I took a bit of a step back to become now a mother of an
Sure.
extended family. And, you know, after, I don't know if it was after he died or before, but I was in Jerusalem and I'd gone to the upper room, you know, where the apostles were sitting, waiting for the something to happen.
Yes, 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 yes.
And I was asking, now what about my life? Yeah, I'm sure it was shortly after he passed. And the thought that came to me was, nothing matters if you don't take your family with you. Because too often you see people create great success and lose their family in the process.
Yes, yes.
So while I, had the boys, I mean, when I remarried, my son was 7 and I inherited a 5 and a 10-year-old.
Mm.
So I made sure I was available in the afternoons. So I chose not to work with other children so that I was available in the afternoons for my own children. And after they left, I really started working more
On the
my
business.
own business again.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure, absolutely. And I
Yeah.
think we all do it as women. We kind of take a pause or a step back or just a few hours a day, especially when we're entrepreneurs. I remember when my son was young, I operated a yoga and fitness studio. And I remember just being able to have that time with him when he comes off the bus or, have that lunchtime or be available in the morning after school. For all women, I think that's very important. And that's what I always love so much about entrepreneurship, right? You stayed in it, you did it, you made it work. And then you picked up, and I have to say, you're amazing because it's just not just courses, there's courses. You wrote books, you do speaking engagements, you go
Yes.
there helping people with what you can do, and you have an app. I
Yes.
watched, it's like,
I am so proud of that app. I am
yeah, it's so
so proud.
awesome. You have an app. I always wanted either, I wanted an app or I want a boy band, right? I want
Okay,
an
but
app.
this app,
This is so
this
great.
yeah, but it is a
Funny.
web-based app. I am working on getting it back on the app stores, but that is always there's some tech issues that I'm dealing
It's a
with,
lot of work.
and there's
Yeah.
a huge price tag with apps on the app store, especially if you want to do it what mine does. So it is a web-based app, but it works really beautifully. So what I did was, I'm a great believer to say laziness is the key of inventions.
Mhm.
Okay. So I've been trained as this allergy practitioner, and here I am to work with people. They have to come to my office. I have to work at least 10 sessions over 10 weeks. So they come once a week.
Mhm.
I have to work on their body. I can work only with one person at a time. Then they have to avoid whatever we worked on that day for 25 hours.
Mhm.
And then slowly they can start reintroducing whatever we worked on.
So this is somatic process, just per client. It's a somatic process. You work on their
What is
body,
a somatic process?
you work on their physical, on their body,
Yes,
on their minds. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You bring
yes,
it together. Yes.
yes. Now, in my training as a medical intuitive, I learned a different technique of dealing with allergies. And so I put the two together, and it somehow happened that I met somebody that was willing to help me build an app. We sort of did a partnership. Feel bad for him because it never took off while we were still in partnership.
Right.
But just how it happened. And I started making these recordings and started letting people listen to them, and then the
Yes.
allergies would go away. Like, allergies
They
from
would come
pollen.
back to you and say, I use the app, I use it all the time, and my allergies are gone.
Yeah, but some like the weirdest things, like this one lady, when she ate a quarter of an orange, her kidneys would hurt.
Hmm.
She would start listening to the affirmations, and then within a month later, she ate a whole orange and had no pain.
Wow. So tremendous success with food allergies, was it also
Yeah,
outdoor allergies? It is pollen,
yes,
anything? Mm.
yes, cat
Mm-hmm.
allergies. You know how
Mm-hmm.
big that is. You know,
Yeah,
people.
yeah, yeah.
The one is so funny. So I had a cat. I mean, I still have a cat, but it's a different cat. He loved being in my office, and a client had come to me, and she was allergic to cats, so I had to put him outside, and I was on the ground floor with sliding doors, and so I put him outside, and he would walk around and would sit in front of the sliding door, staring us down like, how dare you that you put me outside
Yeah,
this
yeah, yeah,
office?
yeah, yeah. This is my house. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Who are you to throw me out of my office, you know?
Ah, yeah,
Anyway,
that's
so I said to the client, okay, you know, we're going to have to put you on the allergy affirmations, the
yeah,
allergy relief affirmations.
yeah.
She said, sure. So we did that. And 2 weeks later, she came back. So she hadn't even gone through the whole set, because the whole set is like a month. And the cat was there. And she said, I said, shall I take him out? She says, no, just leave him there. He was in the office. The first time she started sneezing and itchy eyes within 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Was in the office the whole time, walked even up to her, and she had no reaction.
Unbelievable. So
Just by listening to these affirmations.
something
Yeah,
there started working through your affirmations, through your app. People are listening to it. You don't have to be with them 10 hours of the day or one-on-one all the time. They can use it, use it, use it, and they're healing. They're
exactly. And
overcoming
the
their
price
anxiety.
tag is a
Yeah.
fraction of what you would pay
Of a
if you,
lifetime of healing.
yeah,
Yeah, or a lifetime of being sick and going to the doctor and taking medication and getting another doctor's appointment.
yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. That is fantastic. That is
And then
fantastic.
I've expanded from there. I've got other subjects now. Also, like, so I started with the allergy ones, and then I have ones for overcoming addiction, because most people, and I was definitely one of them, we get addicted to drama. You know, we worry. I would catch myself, hey, I've got nothing to worry about. Well, but at the end of the month, which is like 30 days from now, how am I going to pay these bills? I would look for things to worry about, you know? It is so funny. And so I created the affirmations for addictions, also have had great results with that. People stopped smoking, drinking less,
Mm.
and a lot less stress. And I use them every now and then when I catch myself stressing. Then I had a lady with period pains, with endometriosis problems. So I said, okay, well, I've learned something there in the allergy stuff. I put it in the affirmations, I created something. And the period problems, we've seen an up to 85% reduction of problematic symptoms. Less bleeding, less pain, less moodiness. Even that husbands notice the difference, you know. It's like,
Yes. Yeah, unbelievable. I love that. I love that. And especially when you said addictions, of course, I'm familiar with working in recovery. And I saw on your, on your site, I think you said something that definitely you will, you'll have that route there in there, which is very important for people. I think it's so important to uh work with all kind of addiction and all kind of recovery because there's so much, right, that we suffer from. And I saw on your site, change what you can, accept what you cannot change, right? And have the wisdom to know the difference, which is so huge in the recovery. Just not trying to encompass it all, not trying to be there in the 10-year plan the next day, but take it step by step, take it one day at a time. So I love that. I love that you put that in there.
oh,
Um,
I'm glad
that's
you.
a great way. And now if you're not working with people in person, can you work online through your courses? Now the world
Yes.
has changed into a Zoom world.
Yes, I have not been teaching courses for a while. I'm waiting for that when I feel it's the right time to start again,
Mhm.
but I do group coaching and individual coaching as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, so those are options that I've made available. But I always say start with affirmations because you can already change so much. It is so cost effective, and then you'll know better. Okay, I want to do this, or you if you coach with me or somebody else, you get faster results because you need to make that change in the way you think. Now, what is so nice about the affirmations? It takes 2 minutes a day. You just have to put them on, and then you play them subliminally. You
Mhm.
can listen to them audibly if you want to, but you don't have to.
Mhm.
And yeah, you can just,
And
and
they're there
ideally,
at
you
all
listen to
times
them
of
while you sleep.
yes, I find it's fabulous. They're there at all times of the day. I mean, if you need it, you listen for a little bit. And it's just that quiet time, that take it back, that mindful time, stepping into a place of just listening to what you need to hear instead of our brain, right? Because our brain goes, so much, and then definitely the negative way, right? We like to think the negative way comes up all the time. Like you say, we're warriors. We just anticipate the worst and we just start going into the drama mode, which is definitely something that a lot of people do all the time. So I love that you
Yeah.
brought that up and you work with that. So definitely, I want to find your app and I want to definitely bring the listeners to your app and have them or give them the opportunity to work with you and listen to you in the apps. You also do some community work, so you stay very busy. I read that you have a huge mission to change the world one person at a time, all
That is
together,
something.
right? I love that. I love that.
Yeah. My big dream still is, because of the courses that I've developed. My favorite course that I developed is called From Victim to Master, and
Yeah.
that was again based on my own experiences, and for me, forgiveness is so important, and I saw the power of forgiveness because I saw how I could just move forward straight away because I did not hit myself over the head for what happened. I didn't stay angry, and I could see how my mother-in-law was sick, my brother-in-law got sick because
Mm.
they were so angry about what happened.
Mm.
And in the townships in South Africa, there is a huge problem with crime and addictions and all sorts of things. And I started teaching some of the courses in the townships. And the one time I had a group of ladies here, not far from where I am now, and just to give you an idea of the scope, we had 22 people in the room, and half of us had a close person close to us murdered.
Oh, wow.
Half.
Mm.
And there was one lady especially, she was so traumatized by what happened that she would see her son every day. He would come to her and she couldn't find peace because she was really struggling. And then we did the forgiveness work around it. And then she came to the course the next day. She says it's the first time in like 10 years that he didn't come. She's now at peace. And
Wow.
that is just,
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. There's so much that we can do for others. And I'm so glad you're doing that. You're stepping out there because the harder thing is to place yourself in a situation where you know that everybody is suffering and you have the courage to step in and help them change it. So I think that's another amazing purpose, Hannah. I love that. I love that. You're going to be a speaker soon on one of our summits that we're doing in July.
the
So
17th of July.
the 17th of July. So I'll mention that. This is an online summit that we're doing. So I will promote that definitely. And of course, I'm going to promote your website in all our descriptions on all our sites. Give me a little bit of like you said, a dream for you. You're doing your courses, you're doing your speaking, you're helping the community, you're being out there. Where are you going to be in 5, 10 years? What is your bucket list? I'm not talking about work.
Oh, not my bucket list. Well,
No, yeah, not about work. Yeah.
okay, not about work. Well,
Also on the
I'm
crazy bucket list, on the crazy lady bucket list, like I call it, right?
okay. Oh, Well, first of all, I'm going to be a grandmother in a few months' time, so I'm going to have to visit. Yes, so I'm going to have to go to the Netherlands on a regular basis because my son now moved to the Netherlands, so that's
Yeah.
quite funny.
Yeah.
My husband has quite a few illnesses, health issues. It's quite funny that I work with health issues and he has them, but that I feel also has been motivating to keep looking
Of course.
for a
We all
solution.
deal with that. We all deal with some health issues, definitely when it comes to the family or our loved ones, and that just integrates with our daily life. I think I lost Hannah here for a second. You froze on me a little bit. So I'm going to close it up by leaving you, giving you the last word if you come back. And otherwise, I'm definitely going to tell people to go to your website and, of course, find your amazing app for affirmations. I love that. We can find Hannah on www.thelife-you-want, the life one word dash you want one word.com. So www.thelifeyouwant.com. And if you're going to Hannah's website, there are all the links to her social media, to her app, of course, about Hannah, the work she does, etc. So that way you can get in touch with my amazing guest for today. I want to thank you again, Hannah, if you listen to the replay here. Of course, I'm so grateful for you sharing today, sharing all your wisdom and knowledge and everything that you, as an amazing, courageous woman, have overcome. Absolutely. A super survival story. And I'm very grateful that you were willing to share that. So I love you for your time. Thank you so much. Thank you all listeners and everybody who's listening to the replay. Thank you for this week. If you came on live, and let us know what your thoughts were, and reach out to me anytime. Elian, your life and wellness coach, elianhaan.net. So find us and you'll see all the replays. If you go to my website as well, elianhaan.net, you'll find all the links and replays right there. And of course, on my social media. And I hope to see you next week. Have a wonderful, fabulous rest of the day. And then I will see you next week.